Welcome back to another episode of Bonsai Tonight. I'm your host. Our theme tonight is Deadwood, Jin, and Shari, which means we can now be looking at species that have interesting deadwood or have the potential to display deadwood or even both. Now, these are just a few species that I happen to have around that fit this theme, but they're certainly not all there is. So if you have something that fits this theme and would like to share it with us, please do so in the comment section below. And who knows, you may see your tree featured in a future episode of Photo of the Day. Okay, let's take a look at some trees. Our first tree comes from the Philippines. It's a mango, a tropical tree that can get to be quite large. This one is grafted, so we don't know what the root system looks like, but the trunk has developed some pretty nice buttresses here. The branches have been wired into place. There's a lot going on here. Overall, it's got a pretty cool look. Our next tree is an acacia. Now, acacias come in a range of sizes. Some are small trees, some are large trees. Some have delicate foliage, while others, like this one, have foliage that's more like small leaves on a larger tree. This one's foliage is a little bit messy, but the branching structure has a lot of potential. I could see this being a really nice tree with some work. Next up is a Chinese elm. Now, Chinese elms tend to be smaller growing trees, but they're also very hardy and tolerant of pruning. So they make great bonsai. The roots are in a training pot here. They've exposed some of them to help the tree grow out of bounds. The overall shape is pretty good. The branching is starting to fill in nicely, and I think this tree has a bright future ahead of it. Next, we have a juniper. Now, junipers are known for their blue-green foliage and their deadwood potential. Deadwood is the aesthetic appeal of dead branches and trunks in bonsai. And when it comes to junipers, they often have this grayish color to them, which contrasts nicely with the green foliage. This juniper has some pretty nice deadwood development happening here. It's starting to turn slightly grayish, and it's got some really nice movement to it. Now, speaking of junipers, our next tree is also a juniper, but it's grown in the style of a cascade. Now, this tree is a seedling grown in the ground, so it's likely many years old. It's got a very nice cascading form to it, and the deadwood is starting to develop along the trunk and some of the larger branches. Now, you'll notice that this tree has a forest look to it. That is, the branches kind of grow in all directions. That's because it was grown in the forest, and those branches were competing with other trees for sunlight. If you wanted this tree to have a more traditional bonsai look, you do want to remove some of those branches to reveal more of the trunk and create a cleaner silhouette. But I actually like the way it looks, and I think it works well as is. Next, we have a Japanese maple. Now, Japanese maples can vary quite a bit in size and shape, depending on the cultivar. This one is a Sangokaku, or a 3-year-old red-twigged maple. It's a small maturing tree with great fall color. Now, when I think of Japanese maples, I think of two things. First, the beautiful red-orange new growth in the spring. And second, the V-shaped bark that you get along the trunk. This tree has a little bit of it here, and I think it's got a lot of potential. With a little more time, this tree should fill in nicely. Next, we have an oak. Now, oaks are tough trees. They're long-lived. They tolerate a lot of different conditions. They're great bonsai subjects. They grow slowly, which makes it easier to manage their growth. They have acorns, which are fun to propagate, and they have a very distinct bark that adds a lot of character to the tree. Now, this oak is only a couple of years old, but it's already got some pretty nice bark development going on here, and I think this tree has a really bright future ahead of it. Speaking of oaks, our next tree is also an oak, but it's grown in the style of a literati. Now, literati is a style of bonsai where the tree is very thin and has very little foliage, which emphasizes the bark. This tree has a lot of character to it, especially when you start to see some of the lighter colored wood under the darker bark. It's very typical of an oak to have this light inner wood. This tree looks pretty mature, but it's actually not that old. This is an example of heavy pruning, which helps keep the tree small and encourages more branching. Speaking of heavy pruning, our next tree has been heavily pruned. In fact, it looks like it's been pruned to the point where it's almost a shod tree or a tree with very little foliage. But there's more to this tree than meets the eye. Take a close look. Do you see anything? How about now? What about now? When I zoom out, do you see it? It's a pine. All those little brown bits, yeah, they're pine needles. This tree has been pruned to keep it small, but it's also been pruned to keep its shape. Pines are known for their symmetrical branching, and this tree displays it very well. I love how the branches taper and converge towards the center of the tree. This is called a knob, and it's a very desirable feature in a bonsai pine. And speaking of pines, our next tree is also a pine, but it's a different species. This is a Japanese black pine, and it has some pretty cool deadwood development happening along the trunk. It's got this very nice silvery color to it, and it contrasts nicely with the dark green foliage. Now, Japanese black pines are known for their deadwood potential, but they are also known for their coarse branch structure. This tree is doing a great job of displaying both of those characteristics. And speaking of deadwood, our next tree has some very nice deadwood development happening here. It's a hornbeam, a relatively small maturing tree that's native to this area. It's got a very interesting bark pattern, and the deadwood helps to accentuate it. Now, hornbeams can display deadwood in a couple of ways. First, the dead branches like this tree has here, but they can also display deadwood along the trunk, which creates a very interesting look. Speaking of interesting looks, our next tree definitely has one. It's a trident maple with a lot of deadwood. In fact, most of this tree is deadwood. The trunk is dead, many of the larger branches are dead, and even some of the smaller branches appear dead. Now, the story behind this tree is that it was growing in a residential area, and it had a lot of damage caused by lawnmowers and weed whackers. That damage killed off a lot of the tree, but it didn't kill off all of it. And I think that's what makes this tree so unique. It has a very natural look to it, like it's just been growing in the wild without any interference from humans. Speaking of humans, we have an olive. Now, olives can be grown for their fruit, which is used to make olive oil, or they can be grown as bonsai. This one's been grafted, so we don't know what the root system looks like, but the trunk has developed some nice rustic features to it, including this big knot here. I'm not sure what caused it, but it doesn't detract from the tree. It actually adds to it. Speaking of adding to a tree, our next tree is a Chinese hackberry. It is a small maturing tree that grows in USDA zones 4 to 8. It's got some pretty interesting bark here. It is a mix of light and dark colors, and it's got some pretty cool texture to it as well. And then you have these little buds here. They look like eyes peering out at you. It's got a pretty cool look to it overall. Our next tree is a flowering dogwood. Now, flowering dogwoods are known for their showy bracts, which are modified leaves that surround the actual flowers. They come in a range of colors from white to pink to red. This tree has some nice dead branches here that add a lot of character to the tree. It's a relatively small tree with a lot of potential. Speaking of potential, our next tree is a white oak. It's only a couple years old, but it's got some pretty nice features already. For one, the bark is starting to develop some nice character to it. It's also developing some nice branching, which will help it create a nice strong structure as it matures. And speaking of maturing, our last tree is a bristlecone pine. Now, bristlecone pines are known for their longevity. They can live to be thousands of years old. They also have this very interesting deadwood development along the trunk. It looks like this tree has seen its share of snowstorms over the years. It's got a very aged look to it, like it's been around for a very long time. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Bonsai Tonight. If you did, please consider subscribing. We'd love to have you join the family. We also love to hear from you. So feel free to leave your comments down below. If you have a bonsai that you'd like to share with us, please send us a message through the provided means. We're always looking for submissions for future episodes of Bonsai Tonight and Photo of the Day. Until next time, happy bonsaiing.